time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure, so let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Deer Camp Coffee,
Buck Baits,
JPO Game Calls,
The Island Armory,
Hacker Max,
Sunrise Archery,
and C3 Better the Hunt Technology.
Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight with Dan DeFaw and some weird weather going on.
Only in Michigan in the spring can you have all 4 seasons wrapped up. Typically in Michigan we like to do it in a day, but this week it's going to be a week where we had snow on Monday and we're going to be close to 80 on Saturday and everything in between.
Hey, it's Michigan. What are you going to do?
Right? Exactly. But you know what? If you know it's 80, you know there's going to be no ice on the water and everything. So I think we need to talk fishing today.
Well, we can do that.
Absolutely. But we got to talk about our sponsors, right?
There you go.
I tell you what, folks. Buck Baits. If you have not been down to Deer Camp, brick and mortar store, down at 15 in Dodge Park in Sterling Heights, you got to get down there, check it out. You can go have lunch, go talk to Julie, and check out the Buck Baits there as well. But if you go on buckbaits.com and use the promo code UNJ20, you get 20% off your order. It's spring season, planting season, Packer Max, Lincoln Roan. If you want to check out the Packer Max and everything he has over there to offer, and if you want $25 off your order, use the promo code UNJ25. It's turkey season here in Michigan and in other states, and if you're thinking about a game call, go check out JPO Game Calls. Check out their line of calls, turkey calls, deer calls, goose calls, and if you use the promo code UNJ10, you get 10% off your order there. The Island Armory. I was just there this afternoon. I picked up a little present for somebody. If
Me?
you want, no.
Oh,
Sorry.
I see how you are.
That's right. But go to you got to check out the islandarmory.com website. It's changing all the time. They're actually giving away some free stuff if you buy something.
Nice.
And they're having a raffle for that AR. So check that out. Use the promo code UNJ10. You get 10% off your order there. We're drinking Buckzilla Vanilla tonight.
That's right.
From Deer Camp Coffee Roasting Company. Like I said, go to the brick and mortar store. If you go to deercampcoffee.com, you use the promo code UNJ10, you get 10% off your order. And check out our very own label there, Up North Journal Blend. Pick up a bag for us to help us out and check it out. Go see what he's still got the Lucky Huntsman. And go check it out. Go have some coffee down there. And check out the cold brews that he has. And he has the nitro-infused cold brew.
There you go. You gotta like that.
You do.
I would tell you to go ahead and pull up and see what's going on up in Escanaba, but you don't have the laptop plugged in.
Oh, well, that's kind of not good. But anyways.
Can't take this guy anywhere.
I know, right? We were kind of busy. We were kind of running around and making sure everything was good to go. I tell you what, let's see if we can make this work in a heartbeat.
Can't take him anywhere, I tell you.
Right?
Well, look at there. Why don't you make that full? There
How
you
about
go.
we check out what's happening in Newberry, Michigan? I don't know the temperature. I didn't look.
But there's no snow.
There is no snow. We see the sidewalk. Go over to Cedars, get a pizza, get some Deer Camp coffee, take home a bag. They're selling it there, and enjoy your evening.
There you go. So,
like I said, with this warm weather going on, it's spring here in Michigan. We've got one of the best fisheries in the United States in the Saginaw Bay.
absolutely.
And I went out on it last year with Captain Scott of the Rock and Reel 2.0, and he's going to be on the show tonight.
Hey, Captain Scott, what's going on?
Hey, not much. How you guys doing tonight?
Hey, we're hanging in there right now, trying to wish this warm weather would get here so we can get on the water.
I understand that. You just made a comment. You can't take that guy anywhere. And, I took that guy somewhere last summer. So maybe we might have some stories to talk about.
And you let him drive your boat. We got to talk about that. We got to set some boundaries before I get on the boat if he's driving. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, well, we got to make sure the insurance company probably doesn't listen to the podcast either.
Great.
There you go.
You guys. I tell you what, Scott, Gabby and her family took me out on the boat. There was all 6 of us out on your boat, and you're out of the Bay City Marina up there. How did you get started in being a captain? I want to know a little bit about you and where you came from.
Well, before we start with that, I want to say one thing real quick tonight. We're having some internet difficulties, so video-wise, we're battling a few things here. So we're going to do what we have to do. So you might see his picture pop up a little full and then go back. So just bear with us, okay? So.
Yep, it's the wonderfuls of internet.
All right. So go ahead, Dan. Ask your question again.
Like I said, Scott, you took us out on the water. It was a great time had by all, obviously. We caught some fish. But how did you get started in becoming a captain out on Saginaw Bay?
Well, it really started when I was a kid. I fortunately, my dad, both my grandfathers were fishermen. And when I was young, I got to go to Canada on basically drop camps. We boat up a river system for an hour, camp for 3, 4, 5 days on an island. And
well, we just lost him.
Boom, there we go.
Just like that.
Right?
It's going to be one of those nights, it looks like.
It's going to be one of those nights. Is he going to come back, or is he going to...
I don't know. It just went.
Oh, he's thinking about coming back.
He's thinking.
I'm back. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not sure what happened.
That's all right.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Canada as a kid, and when my grandfathers were patient with me, and some of my uncles, and I've probably done, I don't know how many trips to Canada fishing, flying fishing, and one day my brother-in-law says, we're driving by one of the greatest walleye fisheries in the world, and I said, yeah, you're right. Probably a month later, I had my first walleye real Saginaw Bay boat, and ever since then, I got this disease called bigger boatitis, and I told my wife, I said, I keep getting a bigger boat. I could catch a lot more fish and become a charter boat captain. So probably about 15 years ago, Rock and Reel was my first boat, and I've had a ton of time on the water, and now I get to share my time with a lot of people.
Well, there you go. That's one thing about it is you get to have fun with a lot of different people every day. Every day is somebody different. Danny's already got a trip for us booked, but you get to see people have fun, see people catch their first fish. It's just it's got to be a good time being able to share something you love so much with other people.
It's rewarding, whether it's kids, whether it's adults, it's see people get giddy about fishing. And sometimes I have to step back and say, how blessed really am I to be able to be this fortunate and spend this much time. And then people come on the boat and catch their first fish, their fish of a lifetime, and just enjoy the day on the water. I mean, there are people who say, I don't care if we catch a single fish, sleeping on the boat, relaxing. I mean, it's just, it's such it's just a blessing just to be able to do that and have the resources to be able to do it. Sometimes I forget how blessed we all are.
And it's like we always say, a bad day of fishing is better than a good day of work any day. That's what I like to think.
Oh, absolutely. And, but it's hard on a captain. If you don't catch fish sometimes, you feel pretty bad. You work pretty hard to put people on fish, and sometimes the fish of Mother Nature can humble you quite a bit.
Talk a little bit about the pressure of that. You do provide a service. People pay for you to take them out on your boat, set everything up, and reel fish in and put them on fish. That's got to be some tremendous pressure going out there every day you take somebody out there.
It is. And I try to keep expectations in check. I've been in sales my life, I'm management, and I work with a lot of people. And if somebody calls and talks to me and they want to know, are we going to catch, 8, 10-pound walleyes? Are we going to limit out within 3 hours? Them are customers that have expectations that really can't be met by the average charter boat guy. You're going to have a days. In the heat of the season, I would say we probably average 15 to 25 fish in a trip that we keep. There's some days that are only going to be 8 fish, and they're pretty humbling. But, all you can do is do your best. You keep expectations checked, and I want to make sure, 1, people are safe. 2 is I sell a service, but also it's an experience. It's really not a fishing trip. It's not a catching trip. It's an experience with them and their family and their loved ones or their coworkers or whoever's on board. And I want to provide the best experience I can for anybody on my boat.
Well, I tell you what, you mentioned about providing the service and the expectations. But like I really like to hear you say that number one priority is safety. Making sure that whether you're taking 2 or 6 people out plus yourself out on the water, making sure everybody comes back at the end of the time. Being safe is the number one priority. Making sure nobody goes overboard, going over the rules that you did. It's really, the number one priority is safety. I love to hear that.
But he still let you drive the boat, and that's
We came back, didn't we? But one of the things when we went on our trip, we had decent weather the whole time. It was on our way back that we kind of ran into a little bit of water. And
rained on you a little?
A little bit. But the captain actually slowed down to let the storm go by.
Oh, I thought you would say slow down to make sure you got wet.
Oh, of course you would. I tell you what, though, Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, no, we ran into a little bit of rough weather, and with all the technology on the boat, and between the cell phones and technology, the safest thing was to take our time coming back. I don't know, we were probably 13, 14 miles north of Bay City, where we were catching fish up by the Connie Bar that day.
Exactly, and that's what you said, and that's another thing. As a captain, when you get, you see who you've got lined up, your customers are coming up. And so you got to know where the fish are going. And I know you guys know each other's boat, the other captains that are on the water as well. And how do you, a lot of communication you do for sure when you're out there of where the fish are, correct?
Yeah, the network as a captain is critical. I have a network of other captains I work with, my dock mates and other charter boat. There are people, there's some old timers who fish, their safety grounds all the time, and you have a network. It's a give and take network, and there's times that I have a really good day, and I really don't want to tell everybody where my fish were. But you know what? If I want to find out where fish are, tough day, it's a give and take. So. But you also have to figure out who you trust, because there's a telephone telegraph and tell the wrong person, and next thing you know, you got 100 boats where you caught all your fish yesterday. Well,
if you're going to share information, you got to know who you can give it to and who not to give it to, right?
Exactly. But the second part of that is you got to be able to replicate what they're doing. If I caught fish here today and I caught them on this bait at this depth at this speed, everybody else has got to be able to replicate what we did if that's where things are working. And one of my mentors who passed away, he had a famous saying. He says, Scott, don't get too cocky, because fish swim. So there may not be here tomorrow.
That's good. That's good advice, though. It really is.
And that's the thing. And you could. What amazed me is you could literally look out and you're like, oh, that's such and such boat, or that's such and such boat. Like your eagle eye out of the water, it was great. I'm like, okay, sure. But it was so much fun for those few hours that we were out there, and just watching him orchestrate the lines that he did. I think he was running 8 lines, 4 on each side, and it was just amazing. And Scott, is that your method all the time, all summer long, is running it like that?
Yeah, for the most part. We'll run anywhere from 4 to 6 boards off the side and a down rod. So sometimes we're running 10, 12, 14 rods off the boat. When you go salmon fishing, that's not uncommon, but for walleye fishing, and the plan is always to improve your system. And actually, there were things I did last year to change how I did things and become more efficient. I made some changes this winter and already tried them up this spring, and I like where things are going. So keeping lines in the water is critical, and minimizing tangles is even more critical, because that's when you get really frustrated, Captain.
Well, I know one of the most important things, you thought driving the boat was, he let us do it. But one of the most important jobs was actually given to Gabby, I think, was to count the fish going into the live well.
That, to me, is a very, very important job, because you don't want to be over limit. That'll get you in trouble.
That will definitely get you in trouble. And I tell you what, with what you were providing and showing us that what we did out there, I tell you what, we're coming up on our first break. Let's talk about it more after the break, and we'll get into some more of the walleye fishing on Saginaw Bay.
All right, we're going to step outside, and we're going to take care of some quick business. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
All right, back in the next segment here, talking a little bit walleye fishing on Saginaw Bay with Captain Scott. It's Rock and Reel 2, is that right? That's the name of the boat?
Rock and Reel 2.0?
2.0.
That's right.
When you're out there, I mean, we're targeting walleye. Obviously you can catch other things on there. What are some of the other fish that you might catch while you're out with you?
We'll see how it all goes. But while we're out there, a lot of times we'll catch a perch. We'll catch northern pike. We've caught, 38, 40-inch northern pikes. Depends what color baits or what type of baits we're using. You can catch a catfish, freshwater drum, white bass, white perch. Them are probably some of the main off catches.
Okay.
It depends on how the days are going. Sometimes we use those. The off species will actually make the day go better. If the walleye bite's a little bit slow and you got kids on there, kids love reeling in fish.
Sure.
And they love catching. So even there's some days I'll put a brighter color in out there, and it may target an off species, and the kids will just enjoy it and reel in some fish that fight a little bit tougher than good old walleye.
There you go.
It's one of those things that when you're going out there to target the walleye, is it depending on the day, the month, or what is it that you're looking for, like in the color of the bait you're going to be using? Is it the time of year, or what? How do you pinpoint which one you're going to be using?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, the size of the bait is probably one of the biggest things. So right now we'll use a bigger, slower body bait that's got some a bit of wobble to it, or things into it, like a deep diving messenger, a little slower, or a bandit. As we get in the summer and we cover more around, like spoons and things like that. Then there are certain colors that everybody has their go-to colors. There are a lot of people out fish Saginaw Bay who love fire tiger. Days, weeks I can't catch a fish on fire tiger, so I'll figure it all out and do what works on my boat with my program. And I like purples, chrome, freezes, things like that, and the part of that, what they're doing, and come into play.
I tell you what, when you're talking about using the color, do you have that picture of the one lure up? The one picture we got that you called it your favorite lure for the year, and that was your go-to. I think it was from last year. That it looks kind of beat up. It looks like it was taken, a few times by some fish, and I think you were using it quite often. But when you go ahead and do that, and you set all those out, and you start catching fish, as you've seen by the video, he does everything right off the boat. I mean, he lands, he sets the lines. You just reel them in, and he nets them for you and hands them to you, and there you go.
Do you cook them up too?
I do not cook them up. I love to cook fish, and when we're in Canada, I love to do short lunches. But there are some restaurants not too far away that do cooking, catch and cooks. But I think it was probably the black brass flicker minnow is the one that I think is the one that was from last year, was probably the best one. It was a gold brass color, and then probably the spoon I do the best on is one called Haley's Toenail. That's always start off at least one of those in the spread.
I tell you what, that one that we just showed there, it definitely was chewed up, so it must have been a hot lure for sure, the way it got tore up.
But he is human at times, and I just want to show this video that he was Jay had on a nice northern, and he was reeling it in as instructed by the captain. And then as we were going, and it ended up being a nice sized fish that was coming to the boat, and the captain saw that, and he got his net ready, and he went over to net it. But like I said, he's human, and when he goes to net this fish, he kind of does a little oops and kind of returns it back to nature.
Well, that's all right. Catch it again, right?
Right?
Where do we see it? It's coming up?
I wouldn't say.
Yeah, it's coming up, and that's one of the things. You can see him grabbing the net now on the video, and he's going to go try to net this thing, and he just and it was probably light hooked as it was, and you could just see that he even admitted it, it was his fault, but it was fun. It was just laughing, and that's the whole point of the whole trip, is we had so much fun out there, and it was amazing, and boom, there it goes, just like that.
To live another day.
To live another day, that's right.
There you go.
So, I don't know, Scott. You get that a lot out there.
One fish off a year. I beat one fish off a year, and one guy's running the video to catch it. So, I mean, that just happens.
It happens, right? Well, I tell you what, you got to be a good man to put up with Danny in the boat like that all day. I tell you, it's. Did he charge you double for that?
Probably. So anyways, we got some questions rolling in, and first question is: we talked about Michigan weather at the start of the show. How bad does the weather have to be to keep you off the bay?
Good question.
A lot of it depends on a northeast wind. 13 to 15 knots or mile per hour will be a first of all, a real tough call to say. It's going to be an easy call to say, no, we're not going to do this. The boat can handle it. I can handle it. But most of my crew won't be able to handle it. So small craft advisories, absolutely not. There's no fish worth our life or the safety. So with that in mind, but the next thing is that my demeanor is maybe a little bit different than some of the charter boat captains out there. I only do a select number of charters a year and a lot of repeat business. And I would rather make sure we all have a great experience out there. And I don't want to punish the crew. I don't have to take the crew out to pay for my boat and things like that. So I want to make sure everybody has a good time. And if I don't think we're going to have a good time or a good safe trip, scrub it or to get back and have a better day on the water, because nobody likes to get sick on the water. It's not fun. I can't make you feel any better. And once you're sick, most people don't recover very well. It's just become a really long time on the water.
Right, exactly. Now the maximum number we've talked about was six clients to take out plus you, the captain. You talked about taking kids out on the water. One of the questions is there a height requirement for the child to go out on the water?
No, there's no height requirement. I mean, I've had basically babies on board. I do make young folks wear life preservers. There is a state law on that. But when we're trolling, I have some, smaller kids life preservers that aren't the big orange ones that are sort of gawky looking, but they're more the vest type. And so they're comfortable that way. And just in case something does happen. And so no real minimum height nor age. I mean, I've had some babies on board or young children on board. But, I think 3-year-old, 4-year-old, they get real tired, wore out easy. But I think for somebody to enjoy the experience, probably 4 or 5 years old, and then they can have a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Another question right behind that is, do people have to bring their own rods and reels and rigging, or do you provide it all?
The only thing you have to do when you show up is bring your snacks, your fishing license, and a cooler to take our fish home. Other than that, I got you covered for so your beverages, your snacks, and your fishing license and a cooler, and we're good to go.
Well, you talked about kids, and now you're talking about fishing license. I know is it 16, 17 years old when you have to have a fishing license? But when you're talking about the creel limit, at that point, does a kid's creel limit count against the adults?
No, it doesn't. So kids are bonus rods and bonus catches on the boat, and that's that's one of the benefits of having kids. But kids get real into fish as it is. So
right.
I like it that way. I'm glad the regulations are pro children and kids, because if they get to enjoy the outdoors and enjoy it, that'd be awesome.
There you go.
I mean, I think that's setting up our future generations.
Absolutely.
You know what? That's the most important thing, is setting up our future generations and making sure they have a great time while they go out there, and not make it, they don't want to go back ever again. So having that fun of catching it, like you said, any type of fish at the time makes it for a great experience. And that's what we want our children to have, and is to go have that great experience out there. So, and one of the other questions, I got to look here because I totally just missed it. What was? Oh, are you running fluorocarbon or monoline?
So I run a unique setup on my reels. I run Okuma cold water, mainly 20s for my trolling reels, and I run a backer. Then I run a braid line for a while. Then I run the last 50 feet as a mono line. And then at the end of that, I have a swivel, and I run basically 5 feet of a fluoro line. Now, it's a lot of work when I set up and respool my reels in the winter, but there's a method to my madness, because if, say, we do get a tangle or a little disaster there, I know if I cut off to 50 feet, there's a small knot in my line, and I can change it over really quick and just add 50 feet right back on. I'm back in business. And also running the braid behind that, when I go to release a board now, if we get a fish on, I release the board, it falls back in line, and it minimizes the number of tangles. So part of improving the whole system over time and the experience of the captain keeps more lines in the water and less tangles, and everybody happy.
Exactly. And we had a picture up there just a few seconds ago. You posted, I think there was 18 reels there that you had ready to go. How many rods do you have on board typically?
Typically, a lot of times I'll probably have 16 rods set up for trolling, up to 8 per side. A couple will be spares if we only run 6 or 7 on side. But then underneath in the cabin, I'll have a whole bunch of lead core lines, so I used to run spoons. So usually I have probably 3 or 4, 2-color, 3-color, and 4-color. So anytime on the boat, there could be 25 to 30 rods on reels on the boat.
Can't say that a guy's not ready for anything that's about his attempt on Saginaw Bay.
Prepared. You got to be prepared on Saginaw Bay.
Right? Well, you do. You literally do. Mm-hmm. Whether you're got to be prepared fishing-wise like he does or weather-wise.
Yeah. Especially weather-wise.
Exactly. So I tell you what, I think we're coming up on our second break.
Yes, this might be just a bit of an extended break because we're going to do a little work here behind the scenes, so everybody just hang with us.
Right,
so we're going to take a quick step outside, take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
All right, technical difficulties averted, and we are back.
And on the live feed, we're still live feeding away on Facebook. I tell you what, folks, on the podcast, if you hear some things coming out of the break, you should really go back to the live Facebook and check it out on video.
Yeah, especially you can see Danny running around here unplugging and plugging cords.
This time, yes. And then if you don't see it on Facebook, you can always check us out on YouTube, right?
Right, absolutely. We got a question that just came in that kind of has my curiosity piqued, Scott. Have you been stopped by a CO out on the water while fishing, while you're running lines and everything? You had to stop and reel stuff in and attend to the CO?
Yes and no. So early on I did when I was first coming on to be a captain, but I try to run a really clean boat, and we have to have our boats inspected every 2 years by a conservation officer.
Oh, okay.
And the cleaner the boat, everything's really ready to go. They treat you with a lot of respect. Okay. And they will, if there's something wrong, I mean, they actually hope that we're honorable as well and say, hey, something's not right. But if they do come alongside, they'll stay out of our lines or ask us to clear those lines, and they may ask us all just to hold up a fishing license, and they'll see the from afar and go from there.
Gotcha.
They have been at the marina and checked from there, but overall, the conservation officers are very respectful of us as charters, and I gotta give them credit. I mean, it's not an easy job, but overall, they've been really good to work with.
Well, that's good to know. Mark asked that question. Mark, and I got to imagine where you're going to get checked the most, I got to imagine, is when you're coming out of the water. They want to see your creel limit. They want to check the fish, make sure that they are actually, not undersized and things of that nature, I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah, they do that. And sometimes, the Coast Guard, they'll sit in the mouth of the Saginaw River there, and they'll come in and do a quick check. I've been fully boarded and done a complete safety check while in the water with a crew, and I welcome that. But, they're pretty respectful that they don't get you while you're out fishing and take away from the experience of the clients.
That's good to know, because ultimately, the people are paying for, time on the boat, and if they're respectful in that way, I got to imagine it goes both ways, as well. So if you show them courtesy, they're going to remember you. They're going to be like, yeah, that guy, he runs a tight ship, he runs a good boat. We'll check their fish when they come back in or something of that nature, I got to imagine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I try to keep my nose clean, and once they realize you do that, they give you some space to operate. So they have a hard job, and it's not an easy job to do. And I'll accommodate them the best I can if they do want to come aboard or look at what's going on. But overall, we keep the 2.0 pretty clean.
Gotcha.
And another question I know is out there is, you had, whether you've been boarded, you've had people on the boat. What's been your most memorable experience as a captain out on the water to date?
I've just, there's no single memorable experiences, but, when I have young people on board, and a lot of times from 5 to 10 years old, and see them get so excited to catch a fish, and they just are just beyond ecstatic that they don't know how to respond. They think it could be as big as a shark or a whale or whatever. Just to have kids just have that satisfaction, the enjoyment, and fighting them, and their commentary. Some of the way that they give their own color commentary when they're reeling in is just it's super enjoyable. I've had people. I've had international bankers on the boat too who want to have a full in-depth conversation. I mean, it's just amazing the people you have on the boat for the engagement that you have. I mean, when Gabby's on board, I gave the safety spiel about hooks and being safe, and I don't want to pull hooks out. And here's Gabby smirking behind the scenes that she could have helped us out and made everything go good. So, about every trip has some people that do put something in your memory bank that says, that was a good trip and somebody had fun.
Well, that's the important thing right there.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things, you're looking for that experience. And truthfully, if anybody wants to go and check out the Rock and Reel 2.0, you can go to the website and you can check it out at...
Call that thing up and I'll put it up here.
I'm going.
There we go.
At fishsaginaw.com, you can check out everything about the Rock and Reel. You can see a picture of his boat. You can check out the captain's trip information. They've got a gallery. You look at the gallery and you can definitely see that when Scott takes you out, you go have a good time, and you definitely come back catching something. And he does a fantastic job from when you start to the hole to when you come back, and you see when you're back in the marina, and he puts up the fish for you for your hero shots that you got, and you can take that picture. But then to watch him clean the fish is just him and his electric knife, and away they go. I tell you what, Scott, you kind of done it a few times.
Yeah, what's the commercial? I slept on a Holiday Inn Express last night and became a doctor overnight type thing. I probably got a little bit more experience at that. Like I say, I probably started help cleaning fish when I was 8 years old, when my grandfathers trusted me with a fillet knife and my dad didn't. But
grandpas are great.
They are. I had two awesome grandpas that were completely different personalities, but they both gave me opportunities to have a lot of fun in the outdoors.
You gotta love that. Is it your grandpa that taught you how to fillet the fish?
I don't know. I've always helped clean fish for my entire career, and I've got better over time, and probably I don't even remember. I remember going a trip to Canada on a flying trip with some coworkers and things like that, and one of the guides there, I started cleaning fish, and he's like, "Where'd you learn how to clean fish?" And I mean, it was like, I just don't know. I mean, it just part of my DNA, I guess. So it doesn't even bother me to clean fish. I just love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you take your boat out all the time. How important is the overall boat maintenance when you're running, as often as you do out on the boat?
I think boat maintenance is critical. I run two big Yamahas. Something went down on one. I know I could get in on the second one. I'm finishing right now. I'm actually doing a ceramic coat on the boat for winter maintenance. And, overall, I clean the boat every time. And by the end of the year, she does get dirty. There's nooks and cracks and crevices that really don't get the love that they want. But, I want to make sure all my electronics always work. I want to make sure the safety gear is always there. It is a full-time job. And after every trip, there's a good scrub down, and I make a mental note what needs to be fixed. And if I got to go West Marine, or I got to go Home Depot, or what I got to find to make sure things get back up to ship shape for the next trip.
Yeah, and the appearance, like you said, it's important. You got clientele, like you said, you had an international banker come on. I imagine they don't want to step on fish guts and blood and stuff like that. So, I mean, you do. It takes time to do that stuff, and that's stuff that you don't really get paid for. So it's important, those little details, I got to imagine.
You're right. I come from the corporate world, and I know when I go on somebody else's, if I've been fishing in the Gulf or in Hawaii, and I go on somebody else's boat, I'm pretty critical of their boat, what I want to do and what kind of experience I want to have, and I always benchmark myself versus other boats or other charters I've been on. So I want to make sure it is a good, clean boat.
Do you, when you're on other boats, somebody else's boat, do you look for the little custom things that say, that's a great idea, I need to take that and incorporate that into my system?
Oh, absolutely. My head's on a swivel when I'm on somebody else's boat. What are they doing? What's going on? What can I do? Hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to steal that one. So early on when I was doing a lot more salmon fishing, I would take in smaller salmon charters and see how they manage their lures and how they had some things ready to go. So there's tricks and tips to the trade, and there's always ways to do it better. You just got to be willing to learn.
You mentioned salmon. I know that's usually up way north of Saginaw Bay, and it's also they do a lot of that over in Lake Michigan. Is that something that you've ever offered before or not? It's just not in the area that you're in.
So I used to do a lot of salmon fishing. I would actually take the month of August pretty much and run salmon trips out of Ludington or Manistee. I've changed it when I got to the 2.0. It's a bigger boat and not quite as mobile. And the way I have a day job as an agronomist, and the way things worked out, I decided that I'll just focus on walleye. I've got buddies with boats. If I ever want to go on salmon, or I have some clients that want to go salmon fishing or lake trout fishing on the west side, I'll refer them to them and let them do that. And even the last few years, our walleye fishing, there's some years that we've been going into August and doing a pretty decent job catching. Okay. So that's the one thing. If walleye fishing's good, I'll keep taking trips. But when when the water gets about 82, 85 degrees on surface temps, our walleye will move out to deeper water. And it comes a point in time where I just say, we're going to cut off the trips because it becomes an awful long boat ride without catching. And there's only so many things we can talk about favorite foods and favorite movies and favorite other hobbies when you're not catching fish.
Right. No, I understand that. It brought up something that we talked about before the show started today. When you said, the fish moving in deeper water. I mean, Danny just got an email on it about these fish studies and fish movement. And you were explaining that to us. If you could just expound on that just a little bit about what's going on with the studies there in Saginaw Bay for our listeners and viewers.
So they're doing some migration studies and how fish move. And there's some transponders, and in the past there's been receivers out in deeper water when fish migrate in and out from the inner bay to the outer bay in deeper water, and they try to see when that all happens. And even more recently, in the last few years, they've created an artificial reef, and that artificial reef is they got over on the Corian Bar, and Purdue has actually had a research boat at the Bay City Yacht Club where I keep my boat, and doing a lot of research on the spawning and the efforts and how fish are moving in and out. So what they're learning there are still quite a few fish that actually spawn in the bay, and they all don't go up and spawn inside the river. Okay. So there's a lot of research by conservation groups, funded by walleye clubs, funded by licenses, and even universities. So it's really a really research fishery.
Exactly, and I'm reading as you're talking about it, this plan for this time calls for 150 walleyes to be outfitted with transmitters this year, plus 200 more in 2023. And guess what, folks? If you're ever out on the bay, there's a $100 reward offered to the return of these internal transmitters. Tagged fish can be returned, and there's a phone number in the article to give this. So you can actually go out there and make money.
So now when they tag these fish, are they tagging them on their dorsal fin?
So I believe the transponders will be on the dorsal, but there will be a lip tag, a metal tag in the jaw tag actually. Okay. And so it doesn't interfere with them. So the tag will be on the jaw, and some of the tags are actually even without the transponders are reward tags. So you want to open it up, keep it, report the data. You're going to want to say when you caught it, the size, the length, and go from there. And they'll actually send you back a report that says, hey, this fish was tagged in 2019 and it was tagged at 14.2 inches long, and you caught it and it was 21.6 inches long and it grew this much. So there's a number of dynamics that come into play. It's a lot of research. It's good for the fishery, and every so often you'll get one that's a $100 bill too.
There you go.
That's not a bad deal.
No, it helped pay for the trip too. The transponders are on the fish. Now, are they picking them up with transponders that are on buoys in the water? Are they picking them up via some kind of satellite? I mean, how strong are these transponders? Or do you know?
The receivers that they used to use from some studies a few years ago were placed out in deeper water in the channel. So fish that would swim through there, I want to say it's probably in the 30, 35 feet of water, heading towards what I call almost the outer bay. It'd be deeper than the boot. And I don't remember how far apart they were, but so the fish that would swim out through that channel area would get picked up through the receivers that were stationed out there.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, like the DNR has got this going on, and it's great to hear that they can give you all that. It's kind of like the deer herd studies that they did up in the UP. Like they found out with the deer we shot that was ear tagged, that was 9.5. Right. So
it's good to know that our money that we're spending on tags, because we've had increase on our licenses here lately, but it's good to see that they're putting it back into the outdoors, and we're getting some information back to help make it better. So that's a good deal.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, we're bumping up here on our third break. Why don't we go ahead and get that out of the way, and when we come back, we'll kind of talk a little more about what I got a couple questions for you about what people should expect on the boat, or maybe what they should know when booking a charter. So we're going to step outside. We're going to take our next break. We'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Last segment of the show, we're looking at a little bit of video from Danny's trip on the Rock and Reel 2.0 from last year. Before we went to break there, Captain Scott, I wanted to ask you a couple things. When people, they say, we want to go on a charter trip, and maybe they've never been before, and they just, something they want to experience, and they really don't know what to do. When they call up someplace, what are some of the questions they should be asking?
One is a lot of ladies want to make sure that you have a head or a restroom on the boat, so they can have the opportunity to use a facility in private. So, I would, if you have a lady in your group, I would make that a question.
Okay.
I would ask to expect, your departure times, your return times, things like that. Do you clean the fish? Believe it or not all captains or charters clean fish. So that would be something you're going to want to know, because many inexperienced people don't know how to clean fish, and if you're not at a big public marina, there may not be somebody nearby to pay to clean your fish.
Okay.
So that would be something along from there. I'd ask what you want, make sure to bring. Some captains prefer or do not allow glass bottles.
Okay.
So we prefer not that. If something breaks, it's a sharp hazard.
Sure.
And other than that, just most captains have on their website what to bring, a quick list, or we'll give you a follow-up. I would also say, if we're going to come up and we're coming from out of town, if we stay, when would you call the trip if you knew we were going to have bad weather? Because if you're going to spend the night before in town in, say, Bay City, and 3 days out, I can see it looks like small crafts are coming. I just to make that call and save somebody a night in a hotel and say, what do we do now? We're in Bay City, we can't do anything. So I think open communication is critical too with your captain. If they reach out via text, phone calls, things like that, you'll get a good feel for how your captain treats you and the demeanor that you'll have on the boat, I think.
Okay. Now, let's say we get a lot of fish. We get your limit or enough to take home. Obviously, we should bring a cooler that we're going to have at our vehicle, so that way when we get our fish, we can put them in the cooler. If it's somebody like you who cleans the fish, what do we need to bring besides the cooler? Because obviously you just don't want slabs of meat laying in there on ice.
For me, I have Ziploc baggies.
Okay.
I keep it fish clean, and that's provided. It's not a large expense, and the captains I work with, my dock mate, we help each other clean our fish, just because if you're cleaning 30, 40 fish by yourself, it can take a little bit of time. If the other boat's coming in, we work together and make a quicker work out of it. But we have Ziploc baggies, and there's some party stores nearby if you need to grab some fresh ice and things like that. So, different captains and different people have, some people keep their fish, will kill their fish and bleed them out right away, put them on ice. I have a live well. I like to keep my fish alive and fresh right till the end. And, sometimes it's a little harder on the fingers when I get stabbed a little bit by fish and gilled a little bit. But, overall, I think it makes a nice, fresh fillet to put in that bag and get on ice.
Okay.
So,
I think you don't buy the ice right away. I think you wait. Never buy your ice before you fill the fill the cooler first, then put them on ice.
There you go.
Because you know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Half your ice is going to melt if you don't have a good cooler, number one.
Well, that and if you don't go out and catch fish,
yeah.
you're going to have an empty cooler be dumping.
Well, then you put your soda pop in there.
Yes. Right?
Take it home. How soon ahead of time should you plan on trying to book a charter trip? Or does it depend on the time of season?
You know, I have people that book a year in advance. I mean, I have a lot of repeat business, and they're booked a year in advance. It's fairly common to do that. And I have people who call me up and say, hey, we're in town. Maybe we're working. Maybe it's a maintenance crew. And all of a sudden, hey, can we do, are you open tomorrow? And I'll say, yeah, I am. Or if not, hey, my dock mate is. And so we get a lot of calls within 24 hours, and people say, can we go tomorrow?
Okay.
And we'll do our best to accommodate. So, you know, we can do on weekends. I do 2 trips a day, a morning and an afternoon. They can make for long days, but we'll do what we can to accommodate people on the boat. And I've added a second captain. My future son-in-law is a captain, and so we'll be, over time, I'll be having somebody give me a little bit of break as well.
There you go.
And you know, like you said, he cleans the fish and he does them right. Look at him in that video with that electric knife. I tell you what, it's like butter.
I could eat some of that right now with butter. I'll tell you that. That'd be good.
We're in the last segment, so we're going to throw that question out at you. What is the best way you like to have your walleye?
Oh, guys, that's really, I'm a traditionalist. I mean, I grew up eating walleye as a kid up north in Canada over a Coleman cook stove or a fire. I'm a pan-fried walleye guy, okay?
Okay.
But I love deep fried food, and on occasion we'll do a broiled.
Okay.
So there's no bad walleye.
Okay. I'm watching the video right now that you're filleting up these fish, and I know people talk about walleye cheeks. Do you keep the cheeks on walleye or no?
If they're good enough size fish, I will. It just depends on time, how the fish are going. Sometimes a dull knife is harder in getting them, and I ignore them. But if they're fish over 20 inches, a lot of times we'll pull the cheeks off and then put them in the bag for everybody.
Okay.
A little bit sweeter flavor fish right there coming off the cheeks.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember the first time I had them. Yeah, that's good eating right there.
Right?
No doubt about it.
Right. Another question that we often ask the people that we have on for interviews is, you're out there on the boat, we're jamming. What does the captain like to listen to and jam to while he's out there?
I was in high school in the 80s, and you take some old time rock and roll, you take some kid rock all summer long, fishing walleyes on the bay, off dock, things like that. I got a few favorites. So if there's some good old easy listening rock and some things like that, that's where the captain would go.
Okay.
Country music won't offend me, but I like that, I'm a traditionalist there.
Okay, so along with that, you told us we need to bring our snacks with us. Mm-hmm. What snack do you bring for yourself?
Be honest with you, I don't eat a lot on the boat. When I'm on the boat, I'm very focused. I'm zoned in. I'll drink waters, and maybe I'll have a jerky or a beer stick or something like that, a snack stick. Other than that, I'm pretty much 4 or 5 hours. I'm pretty much a minimalist, and my goal is to watch the lines and watch the clients.
Okay, gotcha.
And for other boats.
And that's a true statement. He barely, we'd give him some waters and stuff, but after that, it was just about that was it. So, I give him 110% credit for what he does out there for those amount of hours. It's one of those things that, he loves what he does, and you can tell. And he wants to have everybody do the same thing.
In speaking of wanting everybody to have a good time and all that, do you ever have anybody pitch in to help you rig lines or anything like that, or no?
Absolutely. So sometimes in a smaller group, I've got a first mate, a registered first mate. He's fished a long time, has his own boat, and so he does join me some trips. If I've got a small group, only a couple people, I bring him along he's a good first mate, but sometimes I bring him along because he's an extra license and extra rods too that I can use. Don't tell him that. But,
right.
But other than, I do have a lot of clients who come on the boat who want to learn how to walleye fish as well.
Okay.
And so they want to learn the whole experience. I let them set lines. I have them do things. If I'm running lead cores that take longer to set out for spoons, I'll put guys on each corner setting rods. Once they learn the system, if they want to start releasing boards and doing things, I let them do that. One thing I'm very careful on is it's netting fish. A lot of times I go to the back of the boat, and I want to make sure people don't fall overboard and lose their balance. So, but overall, I let them be as engaged as they want to. If however they want to work it, if people get engaged. Gabby helped drive the boat quite a bit. Watch out for bigger boats in front of us. I mean, I keep everybody active if they want to stay, and if they want to sit back and talk. I have some people who want to sort of have a picnic on the boat and just sort of relax and, hey, call me, Captain, if there is something going on, and here we go. So the engagement of the clientele is however I pick how much they work on the back of the boat.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we got a few minutes left here. There's one thing that you said, and actually I already kind of know that you do a little hunting, but you said venison sticks or snack sticks. So in your off season, you spend your time in the woods and do a little deer hunting, I hear.
I'm an avid outdoors. I work really hard so I can play really hard. And fortunately, I have the boat. But I love whitetail hunting. I spend the time. I love doing food plots. I actually have a small excavation company where I do mulching and help guys set up food plots. I'm an agronomist by trade, so I'll run soil samples, help people figure out how to make the best food plots and how to set the property up. It's just I love being outdoors, and it's great United States of America. If you create an opportunity, it's there for you.
When do you spend time at home?
Trust me, I need my beauty rest, so I do get a few hours of sleep at night. But when I play, that's how I go.
That's awesome.
One of the questions that did come in is, do you have to be CPR certified or some type of medical training to be a guide?
Yes, when you get your captain's license, you have to take a CPR course. You have to be prove that you've taken the CPR course and basic first aid. So yes, that is part of the requirements.
There you go. So
when Danny catches the gigantic fish of a lifetime and starts to have a heart attack, you can take care of him.
Come on now. He's gonna, when we're out on the water with him, he's gonna enjoy us. I can already tell.
Oh yeah, because he's gonna just watch you and me go back and forth at each other all the time,
right?
Having fun.
Exactly. But like we said, folks, if Captain Scott has a well-oiled machine on the Rock and Reel 2.0, and if you go to the website fishsaginaw.com, you can check out all about it, and you can contact him. And if you want to go out on the Saginaw Bay, do some fishing, and go have a great few hours of fun time, family, friends, and Scott is just fits right in with anybody out there. It's one of those things that it takes a special person to be able to adapt to each individual group that he has.
Sure, because not everybody's the same.
Absolutely. And Scott, kudos to you for the boat that you run and the ship you command.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you being on here. If you want to show up, we still got a little bit of wax on, wax off party we can have on the big boat. So anytime you want to make it up to Midland, you're more than welcome to come see it in the dry dock.
There you go. And actually, I'm in Saginaw quite a bit, so Midland's not that far away. So might have to drop in one day and see what's going on. So I tell you what, we're going to wrap up the show here, but hang on with us after we jump off the internet, and we'll chat after the show real quickly. But for everybody that's out there, once again, bring that website up, Danny, real quick if you could, please.
Right there.
Go over to his webpage, check it out, cruise through it, and figure out what dates that you've got available, and give him a call and book a trip. And get out there and get you some walleye that you can eat up later at home.
And you never know. Up North Journal might be live from the boat this coming summer.
That's right. You never can tell. So, make sure you get over and do that. But also go over to our webpage and our social media accounts and give us a like, follow, share. Share the show for us. And if you're listening to the podcast portion of the show over on iTunes, go over, give us a review. That helps us, and it helps the people who support us as well. Next week.
And for those of you that are on the podcast, that didn't catch the live Facebook, in a few days you'll see it. It'll be on YouTube. If you go check us out on YouTube, please subscribe, help us out over there. And then next week we might be talking some archery, or we might be talking some ladies in firearm.
Okay, well, I know TAC's coming up real quick, Total Archery Challenge.
We could have a total soapbox on that.
There's a lot going on this year with TAC.
Interesting question.
Well, interesting in the fact that with the registration, the way they handled it corporately and what they've done to help people get signed up, they have bent over backwards and inside out to make sure everybody is taken care of.
Absolutely.
Hats off to those guys. I want to get them on the show here one weekend.
Yeah, we'll try to see if we can get them on there.
Yeah, so, but that's coming up. We're going to be up there as well. Have you been shooting your bow yet?
Matter of fact, probably, hopefully, it's going to be 70s this weekend.
Okay.
I'll be out there.
All right. I've been out twice. I had not shot a lot. I've shot enough to know when the shoulder says you need to stop.
There you go.
One thing I've been trying is the slicket that we've got from Easy Cut. I've been using that on the arrows, and interesting. I don't want to give everything away just yet on that we're using for to help lube the arrows to make them easier to pull. So
absolutely,
I will talk about that in a future show. But y'all take care. Be back again next week, next Wednesday, 7:30, same time, right here on Facebook, and we're sure to have a show for you. Y'all take care, and we'll see you then. This episode was brought to you by PSC Archery,
Deer Camp Coffee,
Buck Baits,
JPO Game Calls,
The Island Armory,
Hacker Max,
Sunrise Archery,
and C3 Better the Hunt Technology.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.